They outlawed gold. That's why also outlawing Bitcoin is, a good probability.
So you heard it from the man himself, Ray Dalio, the leader of Bridgewater Associates, the largest hedge fund in the world, believes that Bitcoin has a high probability, those were his words, a high probability of being outlawed here in the United States. He references in this interview with Yahoo Finance, he references the struggles that India is actually going through right now as they try to ban cryptocurrency and ban Bitcoin in particular. So I want to talk to you guys today just about a few different key points in this conversation about the future of Bitcoin and its acceptance by governments across the entire world. If you're new to the channel, a lot of my videos are Forex trading and day trading related, but I think Bitcoin is still something that we need to keep an eye on as we are living through this technological and digital transformation in society. So first things first, let's talk about these Bitcoin ETFs, and then we'll get into Dalio's opinion in a second. We'll come back to that. But recently, you've had more funds now than ever applying for these Bitcoin ETFs. Fidelity is the latest company to apply for a Bitcoin ETF. But the thing here is that these headlines are really catchy, and they make you think that there's potential for a lot of movement to the upside. I'm sure if you're a Bitcoin believer and you think that these ETFs are going to get approved, then that would be good for Bitcoin, most likely. If you do a little bit more digging, I found another Bloomberg article here talking about the future of just Bitcoin ETFs, not the Fidelity one in particular. Van Eck says it is only a matter of time until we have more of these ETFs because there's plenty of other weird and more obscure, he says, ETFs in the system, triple leverage, natural gas, VIX futures. There's other crazy ETFs, so it wouldn't be crazy to have a Bitcoin ETF. But there's been dozens, he says, of tried and failed proposals by numerous firms over the last few years. And it's important to also point this out. This is an article from Benzinga, which I'll link all of these articles in the description to this video so you can read them for yourself. But here they talk about Goldman giving, quote, new investment products seeking exposure to Bitcoin through an ARK innovation ETF. So what they're doing is Goldman is opening up exposure to Bitcoin through the ARK ETF funds because the ARK ETF funds are the largest shareholders of Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, GBTC. It says here, GBTC is the largest Bitcoin fund on the market, and ARK is its largest shareholder with over $368 million invested. So why does this matter? Well, the SEC's lack of approval of a Bitcoin ETF so far, like I just mentioned, has led to companies offering indirect exposure to Bitcoin with investments like this. Last month, JP Morgan said it would offer investors Bitcoin exposure through a basket of 11 Bitcoin stocks. So going back to Dalio and his comment that the U.S. could be headed towards a similar future like India, where the government steps in, maybe is trying to, he didn't say this, but I think give us like a Fed central bank digital currency instead of Bitcoin, and then maybe they're going to step in and actually ban Bitcoin or outlaw Bitcoin, or maybe just outlaw ownership of Bitcoin by individual investors. Dalio says there's a high probability of this happening, similar to how they outlawed gold. Remember? I mean, not in my lifetime, but in a previous lifetime, back in the early 1900s, you had to turn your gold in. The government asked you here in the United States to go turn your gold in for dollars. So it isn't unheard of to see the government or potentially see the government step in and put their foot down. But what I think you have to do is see the ripple effects here, and hopefully our government does. Because if you look at countries, and I've talked about this before, like Venezuela, where the government steps in and tries to make people use a cryptocurrency, people turn to Bitcoin, and it can create a black market for Bitcoin outside the reach of the government. Because we have to think, cryptocurrency is complicated as it is. A lot of people still are kind of like head in the sand, head under a rock. They don't know much about it. So to try to build an infrastructure system that could uphold the law being that you cannot own Bitcoin, that infrastructure system would be extremely expensive and massive, like something that I think we don't really have right now. I don't know for sure. Comment below if you have a better idea than me, but I don't think we've done anything like that before. Maybe we can. Just because it hasn't been done before doesn't mean we can't. But to build that infrastructure system to outlaw Bitcoin, the ripple effect of that could be that you create a secondary market for people to only transact in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, and that can devalue whatever currency the government wants us to use in place of Bitcoin, and it can cause a lot of other problems. So honestly, my opinion is I'm hoping they don't outlaw Bitcoin just because I think it can cause more harm than good. And sometimes you can't see all the harm that decisions like this can cause. And even just opportunity cost, cutting off the opportunity for Bitcoin to be the leader in this new space of investable assets, right? And a lot of people at this point, I think, are in the boat that it's more a hedge against inflation and a decreasing dollar value than it is a fiat-like currency. Now, we can do transactions in Bitcoin, of course, but I think that we're seeing more people look at it like a longer-term investment. Jim Cramer was just on Anthony Pompliano's show last week, and he said, Anthony, you made me a ton of money. I took out the money I invested, left the profit in there, and I'm not getting rid of it. So a lot of people are looking to really hold on to this Bitcoin, and you can look at the statistics. A lot of the transactions that have been done over the last few months in Bitcoin are by first-time Bitcoin traders, Bitcoin buyers. A lot of people that are actually holding Bitcoin have not touched it. They're just sitting on it, majority. So I think that's interesting too. You're seeing people kind of hoard. Now, does the government get scared, like Dalio is saying, and step in and try to cut everybody off and say Bitcoin is outlawed? Or are we going to lean more capitalistic? That's how I would see it. And we give people the free right to own whatever assets they want. If we look at a chart quickly, I know I'm a little rambling here, but if we look at Bitcoin, this is a logarithmic chart on the weekly time frame, so each one of these black bars is a weekly bar. We've only really seen bull markets for Bitcoin, especially if you look back, this is till 2015. We saw one bear pullback, a strong bearish pullback here, 84% over about a year, 385 days. But we haven't seen anything like that since. There's not a lot of bear market momentum that you can look to. Now, of course, if we were going to see a pullback from where we're at now at 52,000, another 80% pullback, that's going to put us back at 10,000. I think if we saw Bitcoin drop from 50,000 to 10,000, it's going to shake a lot of people out. And that might outlaw Bitcoin for the government, and they might not even have to do anything. So I'm sure they're looking at that as a possibility too, right? Just because Bitcoin's been going up over the last 10 years, I hate the argument that makes it a good long-term investment. We're talking 10 years. That's nothing when you're 26 like I am, and you've got 50, 60 years that you need to be planning for. So I'm not sure what Bitcoin holds for the future. I'd love to see a Bitcoin correction. I'd love to see people get shaken out. I don't want the government to step in. I want to let natural market behavior happen, and maybe that does happen. I don't know, right? None of us really know. The people that say they know are the ones that you shouldn't be listening to. So I'm hoping that this video creates a little dialogue here. You heard Dalio's opinion, you know my opinion, and now I want to see what you guys think. So put a comment down below. Do you think Bitcoin could be outlawed by the United States? Yes or no, and tell me why. I appreciate you guys being here. If you're new to the channel, just make sure you give me a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss any of my future videos. I do a lot of Forex trading and day trading stuff, but I like to dabble in a little bit more of the longer term investing and multi-asset, especially crypto space. So if you're here for money and success, then I'm your guy. And I appreciate you, like I said, giving me the time. Drop the comments down below. Let me know what you guys think. Bitcoin outlawed, or is Bitcoin here to stay and running free? Have a great rest of your week, everybody. I'll see you guys in the next video.